Hello, it's Marcia again. I'm back with another journal I wanted to share today. This journal has been amazing to work on. It has been a lot of fun. I think I can honestly say that of all the journals I've made, this one is my favorite. If I could, I would keep it for myself, but I already have one that I use for this purpose, and so I can't really justify keeping another one. But this journal is just, I love it. That's all the more I can say about it. So I will just tell you about it. It is a large. It's 6.5 by, this one's a little taller because I didn't trim as much off the top and bottom. So it's about 10.5 inches tall. It is a fabric covered one, and wrapped around is there's muslin, 2 pieces black and white stitched together to create this closure, and it is stitched to the front flap here. It's a wraparound cover. Let me see, what do I want to say? On the front flap here, I stitched on this kind of patchwork design, and stitched on with just my sewing machine. I just free hand stitched it, I guess you could say, this tree and these pattern fabrics to make like hills, and then a black background, and that's stitched onto it's much more flexible. It doesn't have interfacing in this part of the journal, and so it's just a loose wraparound. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Pinned on here is a little owl charm. Hopefully the lighting is okay. It's a little bit, yeah, I think it's fine. The cover itself does have interfacing on it, and so it's a little bit more structured and stiff, and I stitched around it with the black thread, and I left the extra bits of frayed fabric just because I liked the look of it. I like how it's all wrinkled and grungy, and I also grunged up the cover with inks. I used distress inks and just kind of really made it look grungy, look like it's been out in the woods, out in nature, and it's been used, and yeah. So we have some scraps of fabric stitched on here. This made a little pocket to put a little card. It says Observer. This is a nature journal. I don't think I've said that yet, but that's what it is, and that just tucks in there. Pinned on here is a metal charm with just a random number stamped on it. I stitched some more of the green fabric to the spine just to reinforce it, and the back is fairly plain but quite grungy. Over here on the inside of the wraparound flap is a pocket. I put a little patch down here. Inside the pocket I've just included a pencil. It hasn't been sharpened or anything, it's brand new, for you to write notes and journal on your travels through nature. This book is called Observer because it's all about taking time to observe our natural world and the environment that we're in. I have some tags here that I just put in this pocket, and you can put them in throughout the book as you go to label things, or to layer up with your collage, things like that. This one says, "This makes me happy." Notice the details and captured moments. It has a little camera stamped on it, and they're plain on the back, so you can also write on them. In the pocket, which could also be used to take other writing instruments with you if you want to. If you do some watercolor, like if you want to do plein air watercolor, you can put a small watercolor set in there with your water brush, things like that. It's a journaling card. This is I did some stenciling with leaves and some spray inks. There's a book page with it talks about woods and animals and mushrooms and things in the deep woods. It's coffee dye, and you can journal on the back of that. This envelope here has notes stamped on it, and I also stamped some lines on the back for some writing. And inside is a large note paper with some more stenciling that I did with some leaves. So I used fabric dye. I sprayed the leaves with fabric dye and then pressed it on the note paper. And it's blank on the back for writing. As we get into the journal, there's a little mushroom stamp. It's a hand-carved stamp. Large pocket here. Another book page here that says, the wind always comes up like this before a big storm, said Tom, and then it talks about a conversation. Here's a tag with a John Muir quote, all of the paths you take in life, make sure a few of them are dirt. Space on the back for journaling. And I have created a couple I guess elements for this journal. I aged this up and just inked it and made it look like it's been in a back pocket or a journal for a while. I call this slow observation practice. The point of this is to cause you to slow down and observe your surroundings and what's going on around you. Sometimes we rush through life so quickly that we miss some of the greater things in life. I'm just going to tell you a quick story just that happened while I was creating this journal, and it just reinforced where I was already going with this. I was driving somewhere. I don't even remember exactly what I was doing, but the point of this story is that I was forced, due to some road construction, to stop and wait. You know, the guy standing out there with the stop sign. I live in the country, so there was no other traffic around. I was the only person on the road. The road construction was far enough up that I couldn't see them. I could see like the tops of one of the road equipment vehicles. And so I was forced to stop, but instead of, being distracted by my phone or going through the list in my head of things I would rather be doing, things that I needed to do, I paused, I looked around, I listened. So it goes through kind of like this. What are you seeing? What did I see? I saw fields on either side of me. I had a pasture on one side. I had a farmer's field on the other. Perfect rows of farmland on one side, wild plants and animals on the other. Just to see the details and the beauty that surrounded me. What was I feeling? I wasn't feeling frustrated or rushed or anything like that. I was feeling calm. I was feeling okay and at peace. And I was also feeling the cool breeze because my air conditioning doesn't work in my radio. My radio doesn't work either. But my air conditioning doesn't work in my vehicle, so I had the windows down. And that also allowed me to hear birds and bugs. There's always bugs this time of year in the ditches. You can hear them. They're quite loud. And birds. What was I smelling? I could smell the tar on the road that they were repairing the road with. What was I tasting? I didn't have anything. I think I had actually a cup of tea. I had some iced tea with me. And, you could use this. I tell this story to kind of explain where this comes from and why I created it. You could use this for anything that you're doing, whether you're going on a picnic, whether you're camping with your family, whether you're just sitting in your house enjoying a cup of coffee. You could use it for anything, literally. It's just the practice of slowing down and observing your environment. So I put that in there, and there are, as you can see, 4 different sections, and you could cut them apart and put them other places. You can spread them throughout the journal. You can do what you want to with them. And then we go on. We have an illustration of some mushrooms and just a forest floor, which creates a pocket with some packing paper. A journaling card here, a book page from a bird book, and this has, excuse me, quail and pheasant and such on it. The backside is different because it was for the opposite page, so, but I like the imagery on it. Got a vintage image of some sticks and twigs, and so I just put this die cut negative on it and stitched it on. Did some stamping here. There's graph paper. This is a vintage image of some eggs, and I just gessoed around it and inked. Clipped on this side with a very rusty paper clip is, if I can get it off, this one is harder to see. This one did not turn out as well, but there is a bird in here on a tree. This is an image transfer from a magazine. It was a nature magazine, and I just put some graph paper on here. There was some text, but since it was a transfer, it was reversed. Hopefully you can kind of see the bird. It's really cute. Stamp there. Got a journal here that you can take out of the book. I did some stamping here. It says a good time of the year. I figured you can fill in the blank. A good time of the year for, or a good time of the year to, do whatever. There's a little pocket in the back. You can put things, and I put like a date area there. You could date it. Another rusty paper clip. In here, I'm just going to show you real quick. It's just washi taped closed. Little envelope has little words that you can use in your journaling. There are seasonal words and like weather related words. Kind of give you an idea of some of them. We have snow, rain, season, spring, autumn, winter, summer. All of the seasons are there. Those are they're just stamped onto cardstock. It's kind of an ivory colored cardstock. And those you can create sentences with them, or just put them with your journaling. A book page here, an illustration from a book page. There's another die cut negative, which I colored with inks and then stitched on and gessoed the page behind it. This was another, I'm calling this like a faux eco-dyed, or yeah, eco-dyed paper. I have a couple of those through here. I just used inks and sprays to, and leaves to stencil. Oops. Here is a charm with a little maple leaf on it and some wood buttons on a paper clip. This is another book page. It has some rabbit prints in the snow. And, whoops, I gessoed the inside of it so you could do some journaling. And on the back I didn't gesso it because it talks about other animal tracks and markings and stuff in the snow, and I thought that was really neat. So I left that to be read. And a children's book about bugs and insects. I love this moth image, and there's cocoons. And here we have caterpillars. This is an image of, it was an old poster that I had of different birds, and I cut it apart. And there's an owl there layered with some cheesecloth. On this is it's not cardboard, and it's not cardstock. It's just a heavy weight craft paper. Did some stamping here in this. This was another one of the stenciled pages I did with some oak leaves. This page here you can hopefully, I'll bring it up. Hopefully you can kind of see the leaf imprints there. I just placed leaves on the coffee dyed paper, and then while it was still wet I pressed leaves on it. It was a sort of like Jibbid Neri did in her video. I just didn't use any color, I just used coffee. There's a little pocket here with a die cut of some leaves. And this has a moon phase chart in it. You can date and time and fill in what the moon looked like. It's a magazine image that I fussy cut of a moth or a butterfly, I'm not sure which. Another quote, "Into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." Some more stamping. Another quote, "Fear not to try the mountain passes, they will kill care, save you from deadly apathy, set you free, and call forth every faculty into vigorous, enthusiastic action." I liked that, and there's this owl here, and so I made a journaling card. It says, "Beautiful crisp night air," and it's blank on the back, and he has a little tuck spot. Another book illustration of a snail, dragonfly stamp, vintage butterfly image, some more leaf pattern here in this page. This was a very heavily coffee dyed page paper, and I stamped a bird on there and just tore it out and left it in there for, you could use it for journaling or collage or just to decorate a page or what have you. Another page that I stenciled with a leaf. It's another hand-carved stamp. A leaf charm with some fabric stitched here. Another stamp. The other side of the bug book. Just over the text of this. This is a fallen pine tree in snow. This page has light leaf imprints in it. Some stamping. A vintage image of some mushrooms on this tuck spot. This is a book page of mountain animals, and there's a hare, white-tailed hare there, and a pika. It has lots of different names apparently, and it tells about them and their prints. I thought that would be interesting if you see animal prints in nature. I made a little tuck spot here with a book page illustration of some pine leaves, and I used the same illustration here on this journaling card and stamped a cardinal. Did some stitching around it, and there's lots of space on the back for writing. A vintage image of some oak leaves and trees and acorns and things like that. Bird's nest over here and a label. A little bird die cut negative and some fabric stitched on this pocket. In here are a couple more tags that you can put throughout the book. It says "Marvelously Ordinary and Important to Remember." This is another page from the bird book. It has owls on it. Sorry. A vintage image of some squirrels. "Time spent amongst trees is never wasted." A Katrina Meyer quote. I can't think. And this image right here came out really well. It's a beautiful image of some leaves done just with the coffee dyeing. Another one of those bird images from the poster. Makes a tuck spot. This little, I made a little pouch here with some faux leather. There is a little rabbit charm. Hopefully you can see everything clearly. And I made this to protect this glass charm here, which has this fern leaf pressed. Hopefully the lighting is okay. It looks dark to me, but I don't know. But there's a fern leaf pressed in there, and you can see both sides. I just wanted to keep it safe. I don't want it to get broken, so I just attached a chain and put it in this little pouch, which then can go, you can move it wherever you like to in the book. The rabbit is a little bit bulky, so I tried to get it over the edge so it doesn't bulk up the page too much. A vintage image of some eggs, and that makes a flip up with some muslin. A leaf print made with inks and just pressing the stamping with a leaf basically. Vintage image of some bugs. Stamping, another stencil, leaf imprints. Pinecone charm pinned onto this little tab here, which is on a pocket, which has a journaling card on it, and these are some real little leaves that are dried. Stitched on here, I did some stamping and some of that really dark coffee dyed paper. You can journal on the back of that. vintage image here, which creates a tuck spot. It also has some cheesecloth stitched on there. And this is a journaling card. I've stamped specimen on there. You can write what you have pressed, and this is open. This is not attached. I just put it in there for you to see what it looks like. This is just a die cut, and this is parchment paper stitched onto the card, so you can put your own nature specimen in here if you choose to. It looks really pretty. Paper clipped on here. This is a handmade paper card. What am I in? Yeah, handmade paper card. I put some coffee dyed paper inside so you could write in it. Stitched on some layers of some graph paper and a vintage image on the front. And it's just paper clipped on there. I'm just going to turn it. There's a dragonfly stamp on behind it. Another book illustration here. And in this pocket I've added some more papers, and there are some weather charts. You have wind and cloud charts and descriptions to go along with this chart that I made, which is weather observations. I, for one, like to take note of, like, temperature, kind of keep track of temperature as it fluctuates, and also when you're out in nature, you notice it a lot more because it affects you, and I thought it would just be interesting to log it. And so I created this that has date, time, temperature, clouds, wind, and your location. It could be your backyard. It could be a park near you, or you could be camping out in the woods, or at a lake. It could be any place that you are. It could be your walk to and from your car, if you wanted it to be, at work or to the store or something. Another quote: "The mountains are calling and I must go." Some stamping. This is one that turned out really good. This is a faux eco-dyed page. It's not real. I just used inks and dye and a leaf on some coffee dyed paper, and it came out really pretty. And it's stitched on there to make a tuck spot here. This is another one of the magazine transfers, and it turned out much better than the other one. Really cute little bird and some collage graph paper there, and as well as some extra graph paper for some more writing. This is a book page illustration that I collaged on there and just stamped a bird. I like how it looks like it's kind of framed with that stitching. A very slight leaf print right there. This bird, it's hand carved, so he's my bird. I call him my bird. And some little collage there in the center. You can trim those more if you want to. Some more stamping. Vintage printout, another one of those mountain animal pages. Stamping. Some more. This John Muir quote is, "Between every two pines, there is a doorway into a new world," and I stamped pine trees on either side. Just a little collage here with this pocket. I will admit I did make a mistake. When I was stitching this, I had the pages folded, and so I stitched through part of the pocket. As you can see, the pocket is not as big as it normally would be. And this is a die cut twig here and some fabric. And so in this smaller pocket, I added a couple smaller journaling cards. I put months of the year here. You can either cut this apart or you can use it as like a bookmark or what have you. And they are all blank on the back. This is like a perpetual calendar card. Another bird stamp here. The word flight is actually on the back of this card here, which I stitched on, and I liked that the word flight stuck up there, so I left it and stamped a bird. This is another magazine transfer. This is a paper bag, which I painted gesso and then transferred this beautiful moth image from a magazine. And I like that it's rustic and it's not perfect, and it just, yeah, it just looks perfect in my opinion. And it's just a paper bag, which you can put whatever you want to in it. And it is stitched around. And that is a very rusty paper clip there. My book's getting away from me. A feather, oh, there's some more leaf imprint there. A feather stamp on this glassine bag. I thought that would be a good place to collect feathers. There's journaling space behind that. Another one of the faux eco dyed pages. A vintage image of feathers. This was a stencil. It was of a flower, but it didn't turn out great, so I just added some more ink to it. Butterfly image. Oops. Stamp. Mushroom printout. A little bit of leaf imprint there. This was from a book, a plant book, and it has just some plants laid out there. I liked the imagery on that. It has some charts on the back, but you can do what you want to with it in this little tuck spot. This is an envelope which I coffee dyed and then did some stamping here. It says leaves, and it has leaves stamped on the back. And it tucks into this die cut negative of leaves, and I thought this would be a great place to collect leaves if you so chose to. On this clip is just a little tag that has a month, day, year, and it's not perfect, it's grungy, which is what I wanted in this book. Whoops. And the back, is that the, yes, the back. In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. John Muir. And this has some relief imprint on it and a little bird die cut, my little acorn stamp, and the back. So this is The Observer, is what I'm going to name it. And it will be listed in my Etsy by the time this video is up. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you thought, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.